Hello and welcome to Soundbites. This episode, The Horde, directed by John Cohn. I'm not gonna lie. This film needs to make up its mind. I mean, I've never actually had to ask this question before, but what are you? Are you an action movie? Are you a horror film? I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of stuff like this being blended together. I mean, hell, most of the best horror films I've ever heard have got action sequences, or ever seen have got action sequences in them. It's kind of integral. But I've never seen a film as bipolar as this one. You need to understand, right? It seems to have the crew and the cast, certainly, I mean, Paul Logan, good grief, of a proper full-on B-movie action thingy. Now, I know Paul Logan has been in a couple of kind of like B-movie horrors before, and that's cool. You know, I can respect that. Bill Moseley as well, king of B-movie horrors. And then you got some of the other cast. I mean, the bad guys, they're actually probably the best thing about this. We got Vernon Wells, who's like this, he's, I guess, the cook. Matthew Willig, who is basically the heavy, and Costas Mandylor, man, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right because it sounds awesome, is basically the head honcho of the bad guys. And to be perfectly honest, they do the best they have with what is, at times and at best, a lackluster script. Okay, I'm kind of jumping ahead here. I need to explain. This film starts off, and if you didn't know you were watching a horror movie, you'd assume you were watching some kind of B-movie action film. All the lead-up is there. Then the cinematography is, to be perfectly honest, awesome. I'm not going to lie. The soundtrack is very, very crisp and very clear, but once again, everything about it seems to be building up to I don't know what. I mean, the opening scenes, you probably would place them as the beginning of a horror film. I mean, really, this thing, it's colour by numbers as far as the horror goes. That's what it is. Yeah. Let's make an action movie, except sell it on the back of being a horror. How do we do that? Well, let's see what works for horror. Colour by numbers. Set up the scenes, the innocents going out into the woods. Set up the scene, the woods are dangerous with the innocents being killed early out. Set up the scene, all of this stuff, blah, 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 blah. We even have the Harbinger. I mean, it's like they watched Cabin in the Woods and, thought, okay, how do we do all this stuff seriously and how do we translate it for an action film? Then they took this big action soundtrack and this big action cinematography at times. I mean, the slow-mo is what fucking kills me. I mean, good God, the punches at the action scenes are just cheesy B-movie stuff. And it's weird, because the overacting of Paul Logan is just typical of like an 80s cheesy action movie. It's the only way I can describe it. And yet you have Costas Mandylor being a fantastically sinister bad guy. You have Matthew Willig actually being an intelligent giant. I mean, he's the only one that actually goes, hang on a second, boss. We need to do something. This guy, he's not just some hokey poke. We need to, stop him. And just some of the lines, some of the one-liners are straight out of old cheesy 80s action movies. I don't know, it's, as I said, the soundtrack, these rousing metal guitar riffs of this heroic anthem, ha-ha. And then you're like, okay, so I'm watching an action movie, but it's supposed to be all zombies and, oh no, not zombies, mutants, I should say. Mutants and, horrifying, cannibals, and it's just, I mean, wow. Guys, it'd probably work if, your audience is supposed to be out of their gourd at 3 a.m, looking for some mindless violence, or maybe they're just an adrenaline junkie that loves B-action movies and this is their first intro to the genre of horror. Maybe then you get away with it, but don't expect any kind of hardcore horror fans, or even action fans for that matter, to be standing up and applauding this film. Wow. It's just make up your mind time with this thing. Really, really it is. Which is a shame, because as I said, fantastic cinematography. The bad guys, the main bad guys, apart from the chemist, who's a runt, they're actually really, they do a good job, Paul Logan's overacting action movie horror can probably be explained by the fact that they probably told him, hey buddy, this is an action movie, we're just going to dress it up as a horror and let you off. I mean, at the end of the day, the Horde is B-movie, and I don't want to use the word tripe because it wouldn't be fair, because all the people that are in it are clearly trying their best, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like watching Troy, all the elements are there, but there's just something not right about it. So yeah, to wrap up the end of this Sound Bites, The Horde, Not the most inspirational films you'll ever see, but a damn good resume if, any of the actors, any ever want to, put forth their name for any action movie that's coming up, except for the bad guys. The bad guys, I think, will actually work in everything. They, for me, really did make this film. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of this soundbite.